It was a bright, sunny day, the kind that felt like nature itself was conspiring to make everything perfect. The sky stretched wide and blue above our backyard, where I'd spent the morning stringing up colorful streamers and inflating balloons for my son Max's 10th birthday party. The air smelled of freshly cut grass and the promise of cake, and as friends and family started trickling in, their chatter and laughter blended with the chirping of birds, I felt a warm glow of joy bubbling up inside me. Max was turning 10, a milestone that seemed to mark the end of his little kid years and the beginning of something new. I couldn't wait to celebrate him, to see his face light up with every gift and every cheer. But as the day unfolded, it veered into territory I never could have predicted, leaving me confront not just a single moment of hurt, but the tangled web of family dynamics I'd been avoiding for years. The party was in full swing by mid-afternoon. Kids darted around the yard, their squeals rising over the hum of adult conversations. I was refilling the lemonade pitcher when my brother Ron sauntered over, a mischievous grin plastered across his face. Ron's always been a family joker, the one who pushes boundaries with his so-called unconventional humor. I've laughed at his antics plenty of times, even when they skirted the edge of good taste. But this time, he had something up his sleeve that I wasn't prepared for. He unfolded a large, laminated chart he'd clearly spent time crafting, holding it up like a proud artist unveiling a masterpiece. It was titled, Family Kid Rankings, Behavior Edition, complete with cartoonish illustrations, stick figures with exaggerated features, and little handwritten notes beside each name. The other adults gathered around, chuckling as they scanned the list. My nephew Jake was at the top, labeled Future President, with a drawing of him in a tiny suit. My niece Lily was somewhere in the middle, noted as sassy but sweet, accompanied by a sketch of her sticking out her tongue. I smiled at first, assuming it was just Ron being Ron. But as my eyes roamed the chart, searching for Max's name among the dozen or so kids in our extended family, my stomach began to twist. He wasn't there. Not at the bottom, not in the middle, nowhere. I looked up at Ron, hoping for an explanation, and he caught my gaze with a smirk. "Oh, Max didn't make the cut," he said loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear, his tone dripping with mock pity. Too many tantrums, too much attitude. I couldn't even rank him. He's in a league of his own. He laughed, a sharp, barking sound, and the others joined in, their amusement rolling over me like a wave. I turned to Max, who was standing a few feet away, clutching a plastic cup of juice. His wide, hazel eyes flickered with confusion, then shame as the laughter registered. His shoulders slumped, and the bright, eager smile he'd worn all day melted away. The sight of him like that, my vibrant, sensitive, goofy boy reduced to a punchline, lit fire in me I didn't know I had. I set the lemonade pitcher down hard enough that it sloshed onto the table, and before I could second-guess myself, I was striding toward Ron. "What were you thinking?" I demanded, my voice low but steady, cutting to the lingering chuckles. "This isn't funny, Ron. It's cruel. Max is 10. He's a kid, still figuring out who he is, and you just humiliated him in front of everyone we know." The words poured out, fueled by a protective instinct I couldn't suppress. I could feel the eyes of our family and friends on me, the party's cheerful buzz fading into an awkward hush. Ron raised an eyebrow, clearly caught off guard, but he didn't back down. "Come on, lighten up," he said, waving a hand dismissively. "It's just a joke. He'll be fine." That's when I lost it, not in a screaming, table-flipping way, but in a way that felt more deliberate, more desperate. I reached into the bag I brought outside earlier, pulled out a thick folder labeled Confidential Family Financial Records, and dropped it onto the picnic table with a heavy thud. It wasn't something I had planned to use like this. I brought it to discuss alone with my sister later. But in that moment, it became a symbol of everything I poured into this family. "You want to talk about who's earned their place here?" I said, my voice rising despite my efforts to keep it even. "I bailed out half this family at one point or another, paid for car repairs, covered rent, hosted every damn holiday. And this is how you treat my son? Like he's nothing?" I wasn't yelling, not yet, but the anger was there, raw and unshakable. I'd hoped the weight of that folder, the tangible proof of my support, would make Ron pause, make him see what he'd done. Instead, he shrugged, his grin faltering only slightly. "You're overreacting," he said. "It's not that deep." The others chimed in then, a chorus of voices trying to smooth things over. My sister said, "Kids are resilient. He'll forget it by tomorrow." My cousin added, "Ron's just messing around. You know how he is." Their dismissiveness hit me like a slap, and before I knew it, the argument escalated. Voices overlapped, mine, Ron's, our parents, as years of unspoken frustration spilled out. I accused Ron of always hiding his pettiness behind humor. He shot back that I was too sensitive, too controlling. Our mother tried to mediate, saying we were ruining the party, while our father muttered something about letting it go. It was a mess, a tangle of raised voices and pointed fingers, all unfolding under the bright balloons and sunshine that now felt mocking. Eventually, the shouting died down, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. The other guests drifted back to their conversations, casting uneasy glances our way, and I realized Max had slipped away. I found him sitting on the edge of the patio, his knees drawn up to his chest, staring at the ground, his juice cup set abandoned beside him, a few ants already crawling over the rim. I knelt down, my knees creaking, and rested a hand on his shoulder. "Hey, buddy," I said softly. "I'm so sorry about what happened. That wasn't okay." He looked up at me, his eyes shiny with tears he was too stubborn to let fall. For a moment, he didn't say anything, and I worried I'd failed him somehow, that my outburst had only made things worse. Then he gave me a small, shaky smile. "Thanks for standing up for me, Dad," he said, his voice quiet but steady. I didn't like that chart. That moment shifted something in me. Seeing Max's resilience, his trust in me despite the sting of Ron's words, made me realize he didn't need approval from people who'd tear him down to feel good about themselves. My defense hadn't erased the hurt, but it had shown him he wasn't alone. And as I sat there with him, the party's noise fading into background, I started to see the bigger picture. This wasn't just about a stupid chart. It was about the way our family operated. The casual cruelty masked as humor, the expectation that I keep giving without ever pushing back, the way we'd all let these patterns fester for years. In the days that followed, I couldn't shake the weight of that realization. The party had ended on a strained note, with Ron leaving early and the rest of us pretending nothing had happened. But I felt different, lighter, somehow, like I'd finally let go of a burden I hadn't known I was carrying. I started reaching out to old friends, people I drifted from because family obligations always took priority. They were the kind of people who listened, who built me up instead of chipping away at me, and those conversations felt like a lifeline. At home, I poured my energy into Max. We spent evenings playing board games or kicking a soccer ball around the yard, and I made sure he knew he was enough, tantrums, quirks, and all. I wanted him to grow up in a space where he could mess up without being shamed for it. The fallout within the family was slower to unfold, but it came. A few relatives called me later, quietly admitting they'd admired how I'd stood up for Max. My sister even said she'd been too quick to brush it off, that she'd talked to Ron. Meanwhile, word got around that Ron's girlfriend had dumped him a week after the party. Not because of the chart, apparently, but because she was tired of his jokes too. It was strange to watch the ripples spread, to see how one confrontation could shift the ground beneath us. I started reflecting on the patterns I'd grown up with, the way my parents had always excused Ron's behavior, the way I'd been cast as a responsible one who never rocked the boat. It wasn't healthy, not for me and definitely not for Max. My wife, Sarah, noticed a change in me too. One night, after Max was asleep, we sat on the couch with a bottle of wine and talked. Really talked. For the first time in months. She'd been just as frustrated with the family, but hadn't known how to say it. Together, we decided to find a therapist, someone who could help us untangle the mess and build something better for our little family of three. The sessions were hard at first, peeling back layers of guilt and obligation I'd carried since I was a kid. But they also gave us tools, ways to set boundaries, to prioritize our happiness over the endless demands of extended family. We wanted Max to grow up knowing love didn't come with conditions or scorecards. As spring turned to summer, Max and I started dreaming up new traditions. We talked about camping trips with just the three of us or hosting game nights with friends who actually showed up for us. I told him we'd only go to family gatherings we wanted to, not ones we felt trapped into attending. He grinned at that, suggesting we make a no mean charts allowed rule for our house. I laughed, ruffling his hair, and agreed. The road ahead wasn't clear-cut. There'd be more arguments, more awkward moments with relatives who didn't get it, but I felt hopeful. For the first time, I saw a future where we could define family on our terms, rooted in respect and kindness instead of judgment and obligation. Max and I were building something new, step by step, and it felt like freedom.